All right, guys. I am Ezra Jones, the creative connector, branding lifestyle culture, connecting people in creative spaces. You are here today as a part of the Black Agents Network in conjunction with the Help Network. And we are here to discover Branding 101. What is branding and why is it important? Just to let you guys know a little bit about me and my history and some of the things that I've been blessed to do. I'm the founder and CEO of the F State. I'm also the editor-in-chief of the F State magazine. A couple of networks that I'm actually a part of are Forbes the Culture. I'm a co-founder of the Black Agents Network with Tiana Jackson, who is the CEO of the Jackson Agency. I'm a published photographer as well as a published creative director. We are definitely going to talk about all things branding, what it is, why it's so valuable, why it's important, and how it can make a difference in your life as an actor or creative artist, a model, or just in business in general, but the importance of branding. At the very end, we will actually take questions. If you guys could direct all of your questions towards the Q&A box, then we will go through and answer your questions in the Q&A box. So as we go through, if you have any questions that arise, just drop them there, and then we'll circle back around and follow up. So hopefully everyone can see the screen. So what is branding, first of all? Let's start with that. Branding is the process of creating a strong, positive perception of you and your products or services in the mind of your intended audience. Branding is a process of optimizing the associations, feelings, and impressions that your intended target audience experiences as a result of interacting with your brand. So essentially, it's connecting like the right message with the right audience, and then the perception that that audience has for you. At the very, very basis or the minimum requirement of what branding is to solidify it like in your minds, it's essentially like trust and credibility. So those are two most important things that you have to think about and consider when you're talking about branding. Every single person on the face of the earth, whether it is a company or even you as an individual, you really have already branded yourself through your actions, through what people expect from you. There's a certain thought when people like mention your name. If every single person, every time they mention your name, they're all referencing the same thing, then you've already branded yourself, whatever that action is. So maybe you're funny, maybe you're always on time, and maybe you're frugal. So those are just a couple of keywords just to keep in mind that when people are pretty much describing those adjectives of every time they mention your name, that's the first thing that they think of, then that is what branding is building that credibility and trust of expectations. What is brand identity? Brand identity is your elevator pitch. It is a succinct shorthand statement of who you are, what you do, and why. One of the things that I've coined myself as the creative connector, branding lifestyle culture, and connecting people in creative spaces. So I tell you the who, which is the creative connector. I tell you what it is that I do, which is connecting people in creative spaces, and then also branding lifestyle and culture, which is my why I do it. So what should you consider when branding? There's a bunch of different variables that you should consider when you're branding. Among the most important one is your audience, the demographics, and doing your market research. Secondly, your values, which is even, I would say, probably that above your audience, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the language or the copy. So when I'm talking about the language or the copy, it's the actual like written text, because different words will communicate different meanings. And so the language of which you speak definitely is going to translate differently depending on your audience. So give you an example that you don't want to speak the same to, you know, maybe a 6-month-old that's been first born, that you want to speak to in terms of an adult that is, you know, well into their 50s or 60s. There's going to be different behaviors or different transactions. And while the interaction may be similar, it won't be exactly the same because there's some differences in the level of understanding. So when you use certain words that are reflective of certain genres or certain industries or certain people, certain dialects, even certain cultures in reference to those things, because there's this thing that we call like colloquial language. All of those are different types of copy and different types of languages through which we translate. So that's very important. The next thing is going to be colors. The reason why colors are important because colors actually have a certain meaning, and there's certain things that are actually associated to different types of colors. For like the example, the color blue, which is an example of royalty, also an example of strength. When you think about like the color white, it usually translates into like purity and being plain and clear, and then also in general, like it makes things bigger. So those are also some things to consider. Also, the reason why it's important to have a certain set of colors because colors help to identify and to give like recognition. So every time you see a certain color, you identify the brand with that color, and it helps the memory with the process of recognition. So people then trust and realize every time I see this color, I am them thinking about and recognizing this particular brand just based off of the color alone. Um, the text type. So when we're talking about the actual text type, for instance, this particular slide that we've done in this presentation is actually more of a block text type, but you have different text types where you have more of script or cursive, more of rounded bubble letters. So there's different types of text that gives a different type of feeling. This particular text type is more of straightforward, more direct. Bubbles are more like creative and friendly and kind of fun and exciting. So even your text type can definitely make a difference in branding. One of the things that's also most important is the image. So that is the image all around from the actual visual acuity of what you represent in relation to like your business, whether you're shooting certain images, the clarity of the images themselves, whether or not they're actually visible and people can see what it is that you're doing in the images, whether or not the images are distorted, and then even that from a personal perception of what image do you represent? Like, are you in terms of acting, are you the guy that's next door? Are you are you the nurse? Are you the doctor? Are you the lawyer? Are you the fireman? Are you the action hero? Like, what image are you representing and are you giving off? Like all of these different key factors as far as like the audience, the demographics and market research, the values, the language and copy, the colors, the text type, and image all add up to things that you should consider when you're branding yourself. So those are some of the things that you should consider. What is the golden rule of branding? This is the most important rule, which is to be authentic. The reason why it's important to be authentic is because being authentic adds to your credibility and adds to building trust with other people. The majority of all of us in the world like trustworthy people. It's easier to work and function with people that we know, that we love, that we trust. And then the second rule to that is to underpromise and to over-deliver. The reason why, because you don't want to set expectations for yourself that you do not have the ability to deliver on, because then that creates the opposite of credibility and trust, which is dishonesty and distrust. And in the number rule of branding, which the purpose is to build credibility, is to have some form of consistency and to always be able to deliver what it is that you promise or say that you're going to do. So if you have a standard where you're under promising and then you deliver above that, it's always a good thing. However, if you overpromise and then you underdeliver, you're going to create distrust and dishonesty and not be able to build your brand with being authentic and having that credibility. This can relate to, I know a lot of people can relate to like influencers and with regard to that. The influencer trend immediately when it first started off was really booming and doing like really, really well. And not to say that it isn't now, but it's not quite as big because what happens is that influencers transitions to essentially doing what they loved and talking about what it is that they love to do for the sake of the love of it to starting to get paid for doing it. And so sometimes when you're not aligning the message of what it is that you originally started out or why you started out doing it, and you start doing it for a paycheck and you're just doing it just because you're getting paid and someone says to do it, then you lose that authenticity. So that's why it's really important to be authentic. It's really important to be credible and really important to align like the values and making sure that the things that you take on also makes sense with the brand message of what it is that you represent. Um, because it's really hard pressed to build up that authenticity if you're just doing it for a paycheck or just in general the message doesn't align or make any sense. One of the examples I will give with regards to messaging is like the example again of like a 2-year-old. If you gave a 2-year-old like a grown person's an adult's vehicle essentially, they would not understand how to use it or what the purpose of it is, and it wouldn't be beneficial to them at all. However, if you gave, that vehicle to an actual adult, the value is different. So you're aligning the audience with the correct message. So it's the same thing with branding, making sure that you're being authentic, honest, and truthful, but also making sure that you're aligning the message of what you represent with the visual aspect of what it is that you're representing as well. So making sure that it makes sense. Why you should never overpromise. Overpromising and underdelivering leads to failed expectations. Branding is not about what you aspire to be, it's about who you actually are and what you actually do. Branding is your representation and your reputation. Those things are very, very extremely important, especially in an industry with regards to in any industry, but in particular with regards to like the fashion industry and modeling and acting and entertainment and all of those different things. It's really important about how you represent yourself as well as your reputation. I know Tiana, one of the things that she talks about is that she basically brings on working actors. So there's a difference in what you aspire to be and aspiring to be an actor. And there's a difference in having like done the work and being literally in the process of doing the work, whether you're taking classes, whether you are like taking classes and courses, whether you are, creating projects for yourself amongst, other actors and other friends, so that you're really showcasing your acting ability. And even if you're not with a talent agency or talent agent, you were still considered to be an actor because you are literally in the act and in the process of doing, as opposed to just aspiring to be an actor and you haven't taken a course. You've never, literally like jumped out there and done any sort of kind of acting and you're like, oh, but I'm an actor. But you've literally never, acted a day in your life, not even, pretend or anything. Like you just walk around calling yourself an actor or a singer and you've never done any type of singing performance. You've never done any type of training. So it's really important that, again, it's not about what you aspire to be, it's about who you actually are and what it is that you actually do and what it is that you actually represent. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you're building your credibility, that you're being, honest, forthcoming, and forthright, and making sure that you're aligning your message with the delivery of what you represent. And that's also why it's why you should never overpromise. So what makes you uniquely different? This is a key factor in branding. So one of the examples I'm going to give is like there's a variety of pizza restaurants, burger joints, coffee shops, but there's a variable difference between like McDonald's and Burger King, Starbucks, and other places. Be memorable, be consistent. Clients enjoy knowing what to expect from a product or a service. What creates a branding aspect is that credibility. Part of being credible or creating credibility is being one, memorable, making sure that people remember you, but also being consistent. The more times that you do things consistently and that you show up, then people know exactly what they're going to expect when your name is mentioned. They're going to know exactly what to expect when you walk into a room and when they hire you. And so people will continue to hire you because they know every single time, hands down, you're going to deliver a certain product or you're going to deliver a certain service because you're known for that and you're known for that delivery. That is a part of branding. In relation to, again, different pizza restaurants, so we have like Pizza Hut, we have Papa John's, we have CC's, Little Caesars. So there's, Domino's, there's different, pizzas, but essentially how those pizzas are delivered is different. The message of what those pizzas, represent is different. So while technically when you're talking about in terms of the actual ingredients of a pizza, they all pretty much are going to have the same core ingredients of a pizza. But what separates them is the actual message of what they represent and how unique they are. More specifically, I'll jump into like McDonald's and Burger King. So for McDonald's, you think like the Golden Arches, you think Ronald McDonald. Those are just some key triggers. You think, kids. So those are, you think the Happy Meal. So those are some key things that you think of when we talk about McDonald's. Then when we talk about Burger King, you think of the actual king itself. You think of a crown. You think of charbroiled, burgers as opposed to burgers that are actually sort of kind of fried and grilled. So there's different aspects. You think of like this sesame seed, bun. There's different things and aspects that you think of when you think of a Burger King. So those are unique differences in the way that they represent themselves and the way that they operate that makes them stand out versus other places. So being memorable is part of what is going to create your brand as well. And in order to be memorable, you have to consistently deliver the same thing at the same time. Now, granted, we're all human and we're going to have our days, but for the most part, there should be a certain level of consistency so that people always know what to expect from you. And then when you are unable to deliver that consistency, the most important part is to communicate your needs or your challenges and have that open dialogue to make sure that you continue to build that credibility. Again, the key important factor to remember is that clients enjoy knowing what to expect from a service or product. So if they always know what to expect and always know that you're going to deliver, they're going to then refer you to other people and other individuals, and you'll get repeat customers and clients. Why is branding important? Branding makes a memorable impression on consumers. It allows customers and clients to know what to expect from a product or service. Branding promotes recognition and awareness. Branding helps you to set apart from the competition, and branding tells and sells people the story behind your business. The main most important thing beyond credibility itself is how you're being credible is, or how to showcase your credibility is in storytelling and really having people walk with you through your journey of building up your brand and building up who it is that you are, and really show people, not just the pretty things, not just how you got to your end result, but show them the process and walk them through the process of how you're getting to where you got to. So whether that is your practice sessions, whether that is, like you're starting off and you may not be the greatest actor in the world, or maybe not the greatest model in the world, but showing people that you're going through that training process with your training coach, of doing, monologues and showing them essentially like your flaws, because people relate to that, and it's important to be relatable and really tell like your story of how you started from point A and how you're rising to all the way to the letter Z to your finish line. So it's really important to tell those stories. People remember stories, people recognize stories, and people then elevate those stories and share those stories with other people when they recognize and relate to them. It also helps you to set you apart from the competition by knowing what is uniquely special about you. There's something special about each single person or individual. So while there may be, a million models in the world, there's still an audience for each and every single one of those models. There's a 1,000 different brands in the world, but there's a specific audience for each one of those brands. And what is going to draw the audience to those particular brands is what makes them unique. and what each audience relates to those specific particular brands. So that is pretty much the conclusion of why branding is important and why you need branding. I am going to open it up for any questions. So if you guys have any questions, you can drop it into the Q&A, and I will definitely answer any questions that you guys may have. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So if you guys have any questions, feel to drop them in the Q&A. And so far, I do not see any questions. So, oh, here we have. So our first question is, so what happens if a celebrity takes a part of your brand and uses it for a show? Would you still be able to use it? So what happens if a celebrity takes a part of your brand and uses it for a show? Would you still be able to use it? It depends on who actually filmed the show, as far as to what the agreement is. Typically, in most states, when it comes to the actual content creator, whether it is a videographer, whether it is a photographer, the person who is actually producing or making the actual snapshot of that particular show is the person that owns the rights to the images. Um, so it depends if that particular celebrity is actually using the images on their behalf or what agreement was in place. There are certain rights when it comes to, for specifically with regards to celebrities, but with regard to everyone, but specifically for celebrities because they have a certain level of notoriety. It's called right to publicity. And so every individual just in general has rights over their own usage and licensing of their own image. So you can't just use anyone's image however you'd like to. There are certain instances if you're using it in a public forum where you're taking it, out on location and it's not private property, then pretty much whoever snapped that shot, whether it's the videographer or the photographer, they own the rights to that photo. However, if it's taken in private property, then the terms of agreement are different because you have to have ownership and permission from the individual who owns the property in order to use that image. So it's a lot of different tricky elements with regards to usage. At the end of the day, for the most part, it is up to the person that is producing it. So whether it is the videographer or the photographer, essentially whoever is snapping the shutter on either the film or the camera is the person that typically owns the rights to the usage of the footage that they take, whether it's video or an actual photo image. I hope that answers your question. Do we have any additional questions with regards to branding or usage rights? All right. Let's see. All right. So does anyone else have any additional questions with regards to branding and usage rights and just how to build your credibility? Or do you have like a specific, instance that you would like to ask about or refer to? Right. So Mayo says, "Hi, thanks for doing this. I've been having an issue about consistency, I believe. I have many skills and always wonder what to show first. Do you have any advice for it?" Yeah, absolutely. It depends on what you do. For me, I will say the reason why I coined myself the creative connector, because that speaks to everything that I do and kind of it encompasses a certain wheelhouse of all the things that I do. And out of all the things that I do, connecting people is related to every single one of them. So when it comes to being a photographer, when it comes to being a publicist, when it comes to being an agent, like a mother agent, when it comes to being a creative director, all of those things encompass me connecting with people and connecting people in creative spaces. So that is why I coined myself the creative connector. And in conjunction with that, everything that I do is related to fashion or the fashion industry. So that is my one wheelhouse that I have everything underneath. Even though I have several different options that go along with that, I mainly have like this one skill that people come to me for. And it's my ability to consult and connect with other people with regards to fashion and the creative industries. So my question for you would be like, what is your one thing that you do well? You always want to kind of start with like your base product, and I'll give the pizza example again. So at the end of the day, like a pizza is a pizza is a pizza. So the main basic ingredients are you've got your crust, you've got your tomato sauce, and you've got your cheese. Now anything on top of that is extra. So if you wanted to add sausage or bell peppers or olives or pineapples, those are additions too. So then you're sort of upselling the pizza. So you always want to start with the one thing that people always come to you for. And let's say that you're an actor who's also a model, but your main thing is acting. If your main thing is acting, then you always want to showcase at the forefront your acting and represent the fact that you are an actor. And then people will start to come to you for acting. And then you go, when there's an instance that requires you go, oh, by the way, I'm also a model and I can do this, when people are looking for models and there's a specific instance that is required for that. But always showcase the skill that you do the most and the skill that you do the best. The skill that you deliver the best on is what you should showcase and focus on first, because you always want to be known for that one thing and then branch out. I'll also give the example of Tyra Banks. One of the reasons why I love Tyra Banks, who's one of my favorite models, is because she's done many different things and variables in the industry, where she started out of course in modeling, but since her time in the modeling industry, she's done acting, she's done a little bit of music, she's also been a host for a talk show. So she's done various different things. She's done reality TV. She's done various different things in the industry, and she's actually a business mogul. But it all started out with the one thing that everyone knew her for, which is modeling. So that's how I preface that, by making sure that you have one thing that you are an expert in, that you do extremely well, that people come to you for. And then as you're doing that, when you start to branch out and use your other skills, then go, oh, by the way, I also do this, and kind of upsell your skills. But always be known for that one thing first, so that people always come to you for that one thing. Right. So do we have any other questions about consistency or how to brand yourself? Or is anyone having like any particular instances or situations? If you are, just drop your question in the Q&A section, and then we will go through and answer it and talk about it. My pleasure, Mayo. I'm not sure if it's Mayo or Mayo, but my pleasure. I would like to hear from you guys, like what fields are some of you guys in? If you could either uh, tap that in the Q&A or even tap that in the um, chat section, and I will actually take a look at that. So if you guys have specific questions, so what actor? So is everyone an actor? Actor. So Crystal is an actor. Cassandra is an actor. Do you guys have specific questions with regards to acting? Because I really want to, since we have, quite a few actors, I guess I really want to touch bases on the acting side of things. You want to make sure that um, actor, writer, okay. You want to make sure that on the acting side of things, you want to make sure that the image of what you represent or the roles that you're seeking and going after that you represent and are reflective of those roles. So for instance, if the role says, let's say like the role is indicated that it's, an elderly woman, it's, she's anywhere between, 40 to, maybe not 40 because that's not really elderly, but maybe like, 60 to uh, 80 years of age or 60 to 90 years of age. You don't want to necessarily, come in with really extremely like bright colors and with super light hair and being like overly bubbly and joyous and things like that, because you want to be representative of someone who is more matured. So you don't want to be like sporadic. You want to use certain words and certain terminology that are in relation to someone that would be of an older age. There's a certain demeanor that you want to exemplify and carry out in terms of branding. So a lot of times, often, we are saying that we are the doctor, and then we're doing things like, I'm the doctor, and then I'm running around and I'm in swim shorts and on the beach all the time. Well, doctors don't usually typically do that. Usually doctors are going to be in some type of surgery or in a room, seeing a patient, but they're not going to be in, swim trunks all the time running around on the beach. So it's like making the message make sense. And so if you were to be a doctor, you would have a stethoscope, you might have a white coat on, but exemplifying the representation of what that looks like image-wise. Let's see, we'll start with Crystal. Crystal says, what's the best way to showcase your acting on social media platforms? Glad you asked that. I'm going to talk specifically in relation to like Instagram, because that's one of my favorite platforms. But in general with acting, I would say the best way to showcase your abilities of what you can do are through videos and doing monologues, because monologues is just you and the camera essentially. And then you're able to showcase your own ability, and also through self-tapes. Specifically with regards to the social media platform Instagram, I would suggest that you do use your stories to really showcase your personality and who you are. I would use reels just to do like a 15-second a reel and different bits and pieces of a monologue that you've done and concocted. And then I would also use like IGTV to showcase your videos as well. You can put those videos and monologues directly onto your feed, so that way you get more people and more views that are looking directly at it. And it also will direct them towards the reels or your IGTV if you put them directly in your feed. But that's the best way to showcase your abilities, is through actual video of you in the process of doing your craft and showcasing your craft. So whether that is a monologue, whether that is you in the process of practicing with a coach or with another actor, whether that is the process of you doing like your own productions. I preface that with making sure that the productions that you do on your own with other individuals are high quality. So making sure that they're high quality and still representative of where you'd like to go. In the modeling industry, one of the things that we say are if you want to be a product model, you have to look like a product model. So that means doing your due diligence and research on what product models look like, what product models wear, how they wear their hair, how they wear their makeup, how they walk on the runway, doing all of those research things. So in the same thing, when you're talking about acting and with roles, if you want to be an action hero, go look at your favorite action hero, study some of the videos that they've done, some of the roles that they've taken on, some of the things that they do, and emulate that. It doesn't mean to copy it, but it means to be very similar in your approach so that you exemplify the same thing and take the same road that that particular actor has taken with regards to being um, an actor who's been in an action film and that is based in an action film. Same thing with comedy, same thing with drama, making sure that you take your favorite actor in relation to those, look at what it is that they're doing, and then do something that's similar, of course, bringing your own uniqueness to the table, but doing something that's similar. Okay, so how much of a blank canvas do you recommend we are in self-tapes? As much as possible. The reason why I recommend that as much as possible, and depending if you have a particular role that you're going for, then I would say to be able to sort of kind of dress and convey for the role. However, if you do not have a particular role that you're going for, then yes, definitely be a blank canvas and making sure that you're conveying the message through your actions of how you are being caught on film, and just whether it's your intonation, whether it is your mannerisms, but making sure that you're bringing on the life of the character and you're really stepping into the shoes of the character with more of your emotions and your facial expressions of what you're conveying in conjunction with like using your voice and your intonation in your voice. So that is what I would encourage you to do as far as being a blank canvas on self-tapes. But really, kind of, if you have if you have a particular role that you're going for, really get into the role and play that particular character so that they're able to see you as an individual and as an actor in that particular role with, again, your mannerisms, your intonation, and your facial expressions. It's really going to highlight on your ability to communicate sort of without all of the extra fluff, because that's like really truly the sign of an actor, is when you don't necessarily have all the props and you're still able to take us to that space and place, into that place in our mind and that energy. So we're like, okay, I can literally see in a vision where this person is. I can see them being this fireman or being this doctor and saving this patient. I really saw and felt that. I'll give you an example of Katie Featherston, which is one of my classmates in high school, has gone on to do some really great things in film herself. Um, Basically, her and one of my other classmates, Sean, like they did this. It was a duet, essentially, and not a singing duet, but it was like a monologue, sort of, so to speak, where it was them exchanging and doing an acting role, and it was about a cancer patient, and it was so emotional and so touching, and they didn't have like any type of a prose, I guess would be what it's actually called, but they didn't have any type of props other than like a chair and themselves. And with that chair and themselves, they were able to take us to the fact of Katie being the cancer patient, and then Sean being this doctor, and really being concerned about the cancer patient, and the fact that this patient was, sort of kind of dying in their last breath, and it was really, really emotional, to the point of bringing the entire audience to tears, just with essentially them, a chair, and using their message and their voice, and with their facial expressions. Obviously, that's theater, so it's a little bit different. You get a little bit more movement, but with, again, being an actor for film, you really want to focus in on the camera. One of the things I want to encourage you guys to do, to make sure that when you are recording your self tapes, making sure that they are landscape, and not in portraiture, because that is also very, very important, especially if you're an actor that is just starting out. So does anyone else have any other additional questions that are specifically related to like acting, or even voiceover, or even, you know, writers? Because I see there's some writers in the group as well. Yeah, so if you guys have any additional questions, you can drop them in the Q&A, or you can send them, I guess if you have any comments, I guess you can put them in the chat, but if you have any specific questions, you can just drop them in the Q&A. Hello, let's see, I'm reading another one. It says, hello, do you recommend filming monologues that you write yourself? Yes, it depends on what you want to do with the monologues. If you're trying to like get your creative juices going, and you really want to showcase like your ability to write as well, then I would encourage you to do that. However, if you are going to showcase this in the terms of like your acting career and to the world, I would say, then I would say make sure that it is well written. And if you are not a writer, then you should get someone that specializes in writing to write that monologue for you, or get a monologue that is already well written. Because again, the thing that you were trying to showcase is your acting ability and not your writing ability. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on the correct branding, which is your acting ability if you're showcasing acting. If you're a writer and you want to showcase your writing ability, then yes, I would, you know, it's more than welcome for you to uh, write as well, um, in order to act and showcase your abilities as well if you're showcasing the writing. However, if you're acting, I would not encourage you to do that, because that is taking outside of your branding of you being an actor, and you want to focus on you being an actor. Rachel says, how do you discover what sets you apart from other models? I'm struggling to figure out what sets me apart from others in the same field. Also, do you have any tips to help us discover that? Sure. So one of the things I always say is that if you don't know what you like, you always know what you don't like. So start out with some of the things that you don't like. Really try different parts and sides of modeling, because there's, you know, fit modeling, there's fitness modeling, which fit and fitness modeling are entirely two different things. Fit modeling is when the fashion designer actually basically fits clothes to your body, and let's say that they're creating a size quote unquote 6 and your measurements are a certain type of measurements, then your body shape and size then becomes the size 6 for all size 6s for their particular brand, when they fit the clothes to you. So that's fit modeling. Fitness modeling is actually more with regards to exercising and sports and things of that nature in relation to that. So that's fitness modeling. There's editorial modeling, which is more of high-end fashion modeling when it comes to print, and then also with regards to runway, which there are specific requirements for that. There's also commercial modeling, which almost virtually anyone in the world can be a commercial model. I know mainly when we talk about modeling, most people think of high fashion modeling. There are specific requirements for that. So you do have to meet specific requirements to be a high fashion model, but with regards to commercial modeling, you do not. When it comes to what sets you apart, it could be a variable of physical characteristics as well as your own personality. So it could be like you having a signature walk. If you're talking with regards to being a runway model, it could be a certain signature pose that you almost always pose during your photo shoots. It could be just your engagement and your interaction to being on set. and talking to everyone. It could be that, maybe you're the funny girl, maybe you're the girl that's always talking about a certain specific subject. Maybe you're the girl that is always communicating and talking more about the to the photographer or the makeup artist, or really connecting with certain people. Maybe you're the girl that typically comes in curly hair all the time. Maybe the girl that wears red shoes all the time. Maybe you're the girl that has on a denim jacket. Maybe you're the girl that dresses down. Maybe the girl that dresses up. There's various different ways to really set yourself apart. The most important thing is in your personality and in the ways that you interact with other people, because people will definitely remember your personality and the fact that you spoke to them. One of the things I tell our models is that every single time you enter the room, whether it is the custodian or the garbage man or garbage woman or the janitor or whoever, whether it's the casting director, whether it's a photographer, the makeup artist, make sure that you greet and talk to them, because you never know what opportunities may come from that. So making sure that you pretty much acknowledge them, acknowledge your awareness of them, your appreciation for them, and that in turn will then return to you. That is the number one way to set yourself apart, is just really building relationships with people. Okay, so how do you overcome perfectionism when filming self-tapes, getting over a bad audition? Um, I love this question, and I'm gonna repeat again. So how do you overcome perfectionism when filming self-tapes, getting over a bad audition? So here's the thing. When people tell you no, don't look at it as anything bad. I used to myself, so I understand that. I'm somewhat of a bit of a perfectionist myself. But the problem with perfectionism is that oftentimes we get stuck in the process of just planning and planning and planning. The secret sauce is in the action of doing. And if you remember at the beginning, what I said, it's not about what you aspire to be, it is what you actually represent and what you actually do. So that is what you have to talk about. So even if you do that first audition, right, and let's say that the audition doesn't go so well, and it is and considerably it didn't, and not even say that it didn't go well, it just didn't meet the expectations of what you wanted to achieve. That's absolutely okay. Then that just means that there's something that you need to work on. So reevaluate some of the things that you did right in that audition, and then ask either whoever casted you for the audition, what are some things that you can work on and improve on, some homework that you can take home. In most cases, for the most part, most people are willing to give you tips on how you can improve. And sometimes it's not even about whether or not you did a quote unquote bad job. It's just you may not have been the right fit for that particular character. So you may not have exuded that type of personality. Your personality just wasn't the right fit, or they saw someone else that had a personality that was more fitting to the character that they had already envisioned and crafted for themselves. So sometimes it is something that we've actually, done and that we can work on and to improve. And then sometimes it's just we're just not a right fit, and there's really nothing that we could have done to have improved on that particular opportunity. However, it does mean for us to continue to self-develop, because opportunity is when what was the phrase, if I can remember correctly? Uh, what was the phrase? It's something about, like, basically opportunity is when what was, I can't even remember, but it's basically like when we're prepared, and then when the opportunity arises, that is when we are able to, preparation meets preparedness. Yes, there we go. Exactly. Thank you, Tanisha. That is exactly it. So preparation meets preparedness. So when we're prepared, essentially, and when we receive that opportunity, we're going to pretty much get that opportunity for the most part because we have prepared for it. However, if we're never prepared to receive the opportunity, then we can't, be upset when we don't get that opportunity because we never prepared for it. So it's really important to be prepared. And again, the phrasing is preparation meets preparedness. Um, So the next question is, Elizabeth says, how do you navigate setting a brand versus showing versatility? And I will answer again. So how do you navigate setting a brand versus showing versatility? Again, a brand is your one thing, like your wheelhouse, and the thing that people always come to you for, and that it's instant recognition of what it is that you do. So if the first thing that people, even if you do like 12 things underneath the sun, but if the first thing that everyone comes to you for is like, if, for instance, I could go around saying that I am uh, let's say that let me give a good example. Let's say I could go around saying that I'm a basketball player. But if I'm terrible at basketball, one, that's not a good representation of my brand and who I actually am. And if every time someone, comes to me, even though I go around saying I'm a basketball player and everyone's like, oh, but, we come to you for, we saw you play volleyball and you're a really good volleyball player. And so everyone comes to me like, oh, that's Ezra, the volleyball player. But I walk around saying that I'm a basketball player. And true enough, I may be, but if every single time, someone sees me, I'm doing something in relation to volleyball, I'm talking about volleyball, speaking about volleyball, I have on, volleyball gear and garments on and uniforms, and every 5 minutes of the day, all I talk about is volleyball. That's not a good representation of a reflection of being a basketball player. And so you have to keep in mind like that the message of what it is that you represent, and your brand is really your personality and honing in on that one thing that you do, that one thing that everyone approaches you or comes to you for. That is your brand. Again, you can jump outside of your brand in the sense of being able to be versatile and kind of upsell and offer other services should the need arise, but you definitely want to stick to your one brand of what it is that you do and offer your services in the event that the opportunity arises. So if you know that there are a certain number of, things that you can only do, then don't jump outside of your wheelhouse if you've never done those things and you've never been those things. You definitely need to have some form of practice, some form of ability. Because again, if you jump outside of your wheelhouse and you say that, hey, I'm a 5-star chef and I can cook a 5-star meal, and you show up with McDonald's, people are going to be really, really confused, and you send the wrong message and you shoot your credibility. So then it goes to the credibility of your brand when you say that you can do anything else, people aren't going to believe you because you said you were this 5-star chef and you brought us McDonald's. So that is the best way that I can explain that. So it's okay to be, versatile, but really you want to focus on the one thing that you do and then upsell if the opportunity comes along and people are asking you, if you find that people are asking you to do other things because someone else sees that maybe you're a graphic designer as well as a photographer, and they say, okay, well, can you add some graphics to this particular uh, uh, photo? Can you add some graphics and add some type and some copy to this particular photo? Then then you might be able to say, oh, okay, yeah, I also do that as well, if people are coming to you for that. But if they're not, then I would not suggest opening yourself up to doing anything outside of your one thing that you do, unless someone else is identifying that in you and coming to you for that. Okay, I haven't had a social media presence in 10 years. Oh, me geez. I would like to start putting myself out there. I feel like a blank canvas online. Any advice on getting started? Yes. Before you start, I would do the system process of sort of kind of developing a small plan. Don't plan too long and don't wait too long to start, but developing a small plan of what it is that you want to represent. I would also consider doing your research on what platform you want to put yourself out there on. I'm going to presume that you are an actor or in the visual field. So with regards to platforms that are specifically geared towards that, it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram. Definitely encourage YouTube for actors specifically. It could be Facebook as well. definitely mainly YouTube with regards to acting, but also, like I said, Instagram as well, to be able to showcase like any type of visual work. So I really craft a message of what it is that you are, what it is that you represent. It could be as simple as, my name is Ezra. I'm a model. I'm, from Texas, and I like to model things in the fashion industry. So I want to model for high fashion and brands. It could be, my name is Ezra. I'm an actor. I like to act in comedic roles. Be as specific as possible so that you give an idea as to who you are, what it is that you do, and what it is that you represent. And essentially, like, you're starting off your brand on social media, those are the questions that you should answer. And then through your actions, people should be able to tell that based off of what it is that you're posting, based off of the things that you talk about, the words that you use. If you're talking about, if you say that you're an actor, but you're talking about modeling all the time, that's going to be confusing to people. So again, we want to eliminate the confusion and stick to one thing and stick to our wheelhouse of what it is that we represent, and then gradually branch off into other things. It doesn't mean that you can't showcase your personality and filter in your personality, but it means that you just need to stick to your one wheelhouse of something and then start branching off into other things and making sure that everything that you branch off into is related to the original brand. Um, right. So we have another question. As an actor, how should you go about establishing a unique voice and tone? Should you assume a brand when it comes to your voice, pace, tone, cadence, etc.? Well, that depends. I think you naturally, as an actor, establish that. Like, you take on a life and have a character of your own. For instance, my voice is kind of like deep and monotone a little bit, depending on the inflection of the words of what I'm doing or saying. Uh, but for most people, there's a certain cadence in your voice, colloquially, depending on where you're at and your location and your culture. So there's already a certain cadence that people will hear in your voice. I don't know if you guys can hear in my voice, but I'm from the South. So most of the times people can hear that a little bit in my voice, is the fact that I'm from the South and have a little bit of a Southern drawl. I don't like to admit it, but I do. So some things that we say are words like y'all. And when I'm doing voiceover work or sort of kind of commercials, I have a certain inflection in my voice of what I'm representing and have a little bit more emotion. So I think you as an actor already have a certain cadence just with regards to the person that you are. And I also think that when you are establishing like your tone and your voice, it also depends on the role that you're going for. So you don't want to be someone that is sort of kind of supposed to be really excited and really like thrilled and like, hey, how's it going, guys? I'm so excited. It's grateful to see you. I'm glad that you guys, came today. I hope you guys are having a really great, amazing day. There's a difference between that and a person that's supposed to be, the cheerleader, and the person that is technically labeled the cheerleader. And it's like, hey guys, what's up? How are you doing? Okay, wonderful. That's not very happy and peppy. Again, that is in opposite or juxtaposition to the credibility of what it is that you're trying to represent. So if you're going out and you're doing it for a role, then you want to reflect the role, like your tone and your inflection and your cadence should also reflect the role that you're going after and being a part of and casting for. If you are doing like a monologue and you're sort of kind of creating the character and you don't have any specific instruction as to what that character, and you're developing that character yourself, then by all means develop your own tone and cadence of to what you think that character would be and what you think that character would represent, and then you create your own character for it for yourself. And I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Malika says, I feel like the acting industry favors individuals who are outspoken and gregarious. How can my natural personality as a soft-spoken, introverted person serve my brand? Can this personality type help me in my work instead of hinder it, especially when it comes to auditions? So that's a very good question. So I will tell you this. Uh, yes and no. When you are outspoken, yes, you can definitely get a lot of more opportunities just because it's a lot easier to be seen. However, if you are a person that is shy, quiet, and maybe naturally introverted, what that means is that you have to one kind of get a little bit out of your comfort zone because you can't be completely shy if you're in the acting field or in the entertainment industry. And believe it or not, like I'm a person who is naturally introverted myself. I'm just in my daily life. However, I am a person that's also a bit of a chameleon. And so in my work life, my personality is very different and transcends in my work life. And so I kind of meet people where they are. And I become what is necessitated for that particular um, job or whatever the particular need is. I pretty much become that person or that individual for that particular job that's needed. So that's just a part of my natural personality. But overall, like I'm really, really introverted. I don't really like put myself out there per se. Um, and so my best advice to you is one to just like you've got to start down the path of putting yourself out there. The more that you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. You won't be as outspoken as other people. You won't be as gregarious as other people. However, you will put yourself out there and you will get more comfortable with speaking to other people, with doing monologues, with talking and building relationships with other people. If you yourself are quieter and introverted, then I would suggest to you also finding people who are similar to you and like you and building relationships with them, or even building relationships with opposite people so that you have sort of kind of people that speak and talk on your behalf, that will mention you and they know you. And so they'll suggest you. But it's really about building relationships because no matter whether you're shy and introverted or whether you're outspoken, if you build relationships with the right people, then you will get yourself into doors. So I would ask you like what is your audience? What are some of the things that you intend to do? Where do you intend to go? See the people that are already doing those things and put yourself in that circle. Talk to some of those people, ask them some of the things that they've done, some of their best tips, and get really some mentorship from those people in order to move the needle forward and to help you in your road and in your journey. Never be afraid to ask questions. If people tell you no, that just means that that wasn't the right audience or the right people for you, and it's absolutely okay. But if you continue to ask questions and seek help, then you will get help from the people that you need and you'll get the right answers. However, if you never ask those questions, you'll never get the answers that you need. All right. So does anyone have any additional questions? I think I want to say I feel like that we've been on here for at least an hour, so we're probably about to wrap it up. But if no one has any additional questions, I guess we are going to wrap it up. I would like to say, everyone, thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up for Branding 101. If you guys have any additional questions, some of the resources that you guys can reach me at, you can reach me at the F State on Instagram. Just send us a direct message. You can also follow the Black Agents Network on Instagram as well, also the blackagentsnetwork.com. Most importantly, what I'd like to shout out is the Help Network for giving us the opportunity as being a part of the Black Agents Network to have an opportunity to give you guys this crash course in Branding 101 and how important it is to align not only your message, but your actions with the message of what it is that you're doing. I hope this sincerely, truly helped everyone. If you guys have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. you guys definitely check out the Help Network and check out the resources that they have for you, because they will be having continuous courses as well. So you guys make sure that you are tapped in with them and connected with them to follow up with any additional courses that they will have that are similar to courses like this one. So if you enjoyed your time, definitely make sure that you connect with them on Instagram as well. And it is the Help, THEHALPNETWORK network. So you guys check them out on Instagram as well. You guys be blessed and have a great day. One of the things I tell people all the time, or I like to leave them with, I just want you guys, each of you that is on here, I want you to know that you are loved and loved. And I want you to know that you are the blessed and the blessing. And you guys have a great day.